Thanks for tuning into Revelations. It's a series that highlights ministries all around the country that are serious about evangelism and discipleship. Today, we're in Sebring, Florida, visiting St. Luke's Healthcare Foundation, and with me is Dr. Harold Adolph, who is the president and the founder of the ministry. Thanks so much for joining us, Dr. Adolph.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege.
You're very welcome. Well, let's talk a little bit about the foundation. How did God put on your heart to get this going?
Well, we saw the great need in Ethiopia for the training of African Christian doctors in surgery to man mission hospitals which were having to close because of inadequate personnel, especially doctors and nurses. We also saw the specific needs of the people in Ethiopia. It's in the rural areas, they have only a 10% chance of seeing any kind of a doctor in their whole lifetime. It was obvious that we needed to try and meet those needs to the best of the ability that God gave us.
So it's more of a medical missions type of organization, and I understand you're working specifically in a town called Sodu in Ethiopia. Tell me about the hospital there.
The hospital now has 120 beds. It's approved for a 200-bed facility. It's in an area of Ethiopia, which is the south central area.
So as a medical missions sending agency, you're looking for people in the medical field. What types of folks typically sign up to go?
Medical teams from churches with support personnel. We also have teams that are especially gifted in electrical types of work. With those kinds of challenges, teams with many different kinds of expertise are needed.
Well, the old saying in ministry, where God guides, God provides.
That's right, and we've actually seen God provide in miraculous ways all along the way.
Well, that's encouraging, and I hope it encourages our viewers as well. Stay tuned as we get some more interviews from some of the doctors and some of the folks that have been to Ethiopia to see firsthand what God is doing there. So hopefully you too can get a fresh revelation as to the part that you could be playing, being the hands and feet, and helping Ethiopians learn about Christ. Stay tuned.
Medical people who have not been exposed to the needs of the third world, after a short-term trip to a needy place, come back with a completely different view of it. And if God doesn't call them back on a full-time basis, at least their eyes have been opened and realized the need, and they're more apt to support it than if they had not seen the need firsthand.
I think medical missions is a chance for us to really put our money where our mouth is as Christians. We claim to serve a God who loves the world, who has compassion on the broken and the hurting and the needy. And if we as believers aren't willing to show that in practical ways like medical care, then what right do we have to speak to the world, and what right will they ever give us to speak into their lives?
Some of the needs that we have at Sodu Christian Hospital include staff and personnel who can help train our expat staff as well as the national staff.
I think that there's definitely a role for getting medical supplies over. There's certain pieces of equipment that you simply can't get in places like Ethiopia, and even if you can, trying to get them over there can be very challenging.
I think it would be extremely important for the medical community on their time off or as they have time to be able to get overseas and serve those that are less fortunate and those that are in need of care.
Oftentimes people will ask us, I'm able to do this or that or some other job. Is there a place for me? Oftentimes there is, because just like in a hospital here at home, you need a whole range of individuals working together to make it work. And likewise on the field, you need all sorts of skills to keep a hospital running well.
Supporting those that are called to go overseas is extremely important and crucial. Obviously, they are doing something that the Lord has led them to do, and we can take part by partnering with them to carry out their mission as God has given it to them.
I think the thing to realize is that although we may be sending only a few, we are all going. We go through our prayers for the missionaries. We go through the money that we give to support them. Some of us are called to go in person, and we should be willing to, whether short-term or long-term. And I think finally we need to remember that our missionaries are serving in a place that is difficult, in a way that is difficult, and we need to love and encourage them to remember that they are part of our church even as they go away from us.
Well, I think ultimately the purpose of medical missions is to advance the gospel, to tell people about Christ. One of the beautiful things about it is that it opens doors to talk to people by showing them physical love and a love that anyone can understand, and also to tell people about the ultimate love and the love of Christ.
It's an incredible experience to take your children. It's neat to see how God uses different experiences in your children's lives. Even though they won't grow up the same way that we grew up, they are getting to see so many countries and experience the diversity that God created.
I do think missions is for everybody. Whether you're going or you're supporting, I think that we're clearly told in the Bible to reach out to the world with the gospel. God has not blessed, in my mind, the United States so that blessing would terminate in the United States. I think there's a role for reaching out to the rest of the world, and I think that missions is a great way to do that.
To learn more about St. Luke's Healthcare Foundation, you can call 630-510-2222 or go to our website at soddo.org, soddo.org.